The May jobs report is a disappointing one for the White House. For more insight, we bring in our Washington executive editor, Al Hunt. Al, we know the president will be speaking later this afternoon. He wanted to talk about the exit from the auto industry, but now there's going to be pressure on him to talk about supporting job growth.
This report this morning was just dreadful news for the White House, Margaret. It not only stepped on his storyline, his narrative out in Ohio today, but it follows a number of other reports suggesting that the economic recovery has stalled. There's even a chance of a second downturn. And so the White House really is in a state of dismay. This wasn't totally unexpected, but it was even worse than they had anticipated.
Yeah, we were hearing as much from former advisor Christina Romer saying, oh, it wasn't too much of a surprise, but certainly the level of lack of growth did surprise people here. Austin Goolsby's trying to say, well, this is just 1 month. Give us some context. Is that something that the public has the appetite for?
No, I don't think so. If it were just 1 month and all the other indicators, manufacturing and others were looking good, and housing were starting to rebound a little bit, you'd say, all right, fine. It may just be an aberration. There may be, summer work issues and college students involved. But that's not the case. This follows on the heels of several other very discouraging reports. So that's why the White House and my good friend Austin Goolsby are going to have a very difficult time spinning it that way.
All right. What? No president since FDR has won re-election with a jobless rate above 7%. Isn't that the stat? I mean, how does Obama change that?
I think it's 7-2. There's no way in the world he can change that, and they accepted that. What they were hoping for was there would be a steady improvement. You might have an unemployment rate of 8% in October of 2012, but it would have steadily come down. What this report and others suggest is that we may have stalled, and if that's the case, they're not going to have the trend, the movement, the direction that they were looking for next year, and that creates a really worrisome economy for them.
Right, and not the political will to get some sort of financial package out of Congress. Christina Romer was suggesting some sort of additional payroll tax holiday or some sort of infrastructure program. What's the likelihood of that?
Not much. Here's the great contradiction. What they're negotiating over right now with Vice President Biden and others are how much to reduce the deficit, how much to reduce spending. What this report suggests is that we may need a little infusion, short-term at least, of more spending, of more tax cuts. Those are in great contradiction. And I don't think the Republican House is that eager to give Barack Obama some kind of an injection that might help him win re-election next year. As a matter of fact, Margaret, I'll confidently predict they are not going to be willing to do that.
No, I mean, this also complicates the Republican narrative that you're gesturing to there. I mean, how do you advocate austerity, which is going to mean further job loss at the government level, at the state level, when you've already got worries about a high jobless rate?
Well, they would dispute your theory. They would say if we cut spending, we'd restore confidence, and we get people, we get markets would be calmed, and we would produce more long-term economic growth. I'm not saying that that's right, but that would be their view. I don't think that they will have any trouble saying the problem is Obama has failed. That's what an opposition party does. They will say the stimulus didn't work, despite evidence to the contrary that it certainly did add jobs. But that's the GOP take, and I think they have the upper hand today.
The other group that's going to get a lot of pressure right now is the Fed. Will they launch QE3 or not? I know you've got quite the Fed watcher on your show, Ron Paul.
Well, what's one way to describe him as a Fed watcher? That's not the way the Fed would describe it. Yeah, basher, whatever. A proud Fed basher, I think Ron Paul would say. I don't think the Fed has many options either. I think QE3, I would guess, is very unlikely. QE2 is still controversial, both about doing it and whether it had much effect. So I don't think that one can look to the Fed to bail us out of this, or at least not in any significant way.
Well, I know you're going to have lots of questions for Ron Paul when he joins you.
He's always interesting.
He is. 7 p.m. Eastern Time tonight, right here on Bloomberg. You can catch Al and Ron Paul. Have a great weekend, Al.
You too, Margaret.